Welcome to the Maverrik podcast. Business growth tips and discussions to make you the expert in demand.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Maverrik podcast. I am Luke 2 and today I'm joined by Skye.
Hi.
How are you doing today? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I always start with that. It seems like I'm awful at small talk at the start of
Yeah.
this podcast. I always just go into it like, right, let's get into what we're talking about today.
It is difficult to get into a flow of things sometimes, yeah.
Especially when it's like a start of something which will obviously be very, very serious for a podcast. I feel over time we'll start to sort of loosen up a little bit and then we'll talk naturally. But at the start, I'm always really fast when I'm talking.
I think starts and ends of podcasts are quite difficult to get together because it's like you get into a natural conversation eventually, but it's not a natural, you don't walk up to someone and go, hey, I'm doing this, like when you start a normal conversation.
Yeah. We're recording a podcast right now.
Yeah.
These are the topics and this is what you're going to learn.
Yeah.
So today, it's actually a topic that you brought to me that you want to discuss about. Do you want to do the introduction for this one?
So I thought today it'd just kind of be interesting to talk about because there's been a lot of talk going around just like on LinkedIn, and it's been a topic just in general, but about workplace attire, like specifically in office environments. But I think something that people aren't really talking about is how that can relate to even content and like creating content for social media. Like it might not be obvious at first, but obviously if you're not comfortable, then you can't. It's hard to create.
Yeah, it's the issue of the way you dress is expression. I feel like we can get away with it a lot because of the fact that I wouldn't say we're in social media, but a lot of what we do is about growing businesses through social media. So we've kind of got that young, hip, vibrant, hey, this is social media, Facebook, hashtags, emojis kind of thing. So we're like, you can wear Converse and jeans and t-shirts and people won't bat an eyelid. Where if you're in like big business and finance, people like, if you don't wear a 3-piece suit, who are you in a sense?
I think it even goes the opposite way as well, because like you have comfort in the sense that you can come in wearing trainers, jeans, just stuff you can get through the day in. But then you have other people that they might want to come in, like they might want to dress up and wear like a fancy snazzy suit. But still not want to be judged. They might want to come in with like funky coloured hair, or another big thing that people are talking about at the moment is tattoos and whether they're appropriate or not. And I just feel like a lot of the time I want to ask people like what part of it they find inappropriate, because I think appropriateness is really subjective. And I do understand that, there's that whole thing of dressing for the job you want and everything like that. So I think in the beginning, a lot of people conform, I guess is the best way to put it. In the phrase
where it's the clothes make the person, in a sense, where it's like if you want to dress for the big top job, that means wearing like this certain outfit, but it's kind of like who dictates that in the office.
Exactly. And some people will definitely argue with me on this, be like, I don't want those kind of people working in my business anyway. But I think especially in this day and age, you're going to limit the kind of candidate pool you have if you're not off. Like, it's not even offering, because I think it's more just saying to people, just be who you want, come in, get your day done or however you do it and go home.
So the fear of not looking professional enough and not by not dressing up in a certain way, for business owners and consultants themselves, I feel the way the gurus went about it was, I'm going to show myself wearing like these high-priced Rolexes. I'm going to wear all this Versace, Gucci. I don't know a lot of fashion brands, but they're going to like doll themselves up and they're going to have like flashy cars behind them to exude this wealth and say, I'm the person you want to do business with. Why? Because I've got all of this.
See, that's
wealth.
Another thing though. You have people who go the opposite way, that they are dressing fancy and snazzy, but like, is that even real? Like when it comes to like building personal branding and stuff like that, you want to put your best foot forward. So there's no denying that everybody curates some kind of character on social media. It doesn't mean that it's false. But things, like that, where it's like, unless you're 100% delivering that for people, you can't convey that, because people are going to, they're going to know. Because this is the other thing. When I see stuff like that, it's like, well, I know that like who is really buying into this realistically? Because I feel like you can see right through it.
I would love to think of one of those gurus who are just wearing all a green suit, and they've had to like Photoshop on all of the outfit and all the card behind them. You go cut and it sticks, and they're just in like a full green suit, like for motion capture. So it's interesting because the people who do buy into it are people who say, okay, that person's successful and I want to be successful, and it's kind of like that level of thinking has shifted a little bit where, okay, people believed it. I'd say in the early 2000s, later on, when people were still getting to grips with like ads and YouTube and the rest of it, they would see that flash and go, okay, that's got to be like genuine. Whereas now everyone does take it with a pinch of salt, because everyone's kind of, it's kind of like a flex kind of thing of like, you know, look at me, I've got all this success. But like you said, it can be like completely see-through, and people will then go, okay, so I know you've got the cars and the clothes, but how did you get there? And then it's like, oh, I got there by, you know, doing all this stuff in this book you can read.
Yeah.
Or what's in the book. And I'll go, well, I'm not going to tell you. You have to read the book, and it'll show you all my secrets. And then it's like, well, can you give me a brief content of what's inside of it? And it's like, no, you got to just buy this course.
Exactly.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I mean, this is going a whole different tangent, but yeah, having clothes can be used then as a marketing tool for themselves. But do you feel like businesses then will go, okay, if I've got an employee in work who doesn't dress very snazzy and a client comes in and sees them, oh, will they think that this place isn't good enough?
There are obviously like situational moments. Like I can understand some business owners, especially in the beginning, like because you are trying to put a certain build a reputation and image forward. But again, I suppose it matters kind of, because it's even just what you were saying about how, like, you know, at one point, like the early 2000s, people would have seen that to be like, oh, I want to be that kind of successful. It depends what success means to you. And that's changing a lot for people as well. You know, when they see people, I know social media is buying into it a lot, because social media is a lot about image. But I think now people are looking more and thinking, oh, I want to have success like this person, but not simply just based off what they look like. So when it comes to, you know, say if a client's coming in, I really do feel like that if your work shows, like if you can prove it through the work that you do, then honestly what you're wearing doesn't matter. And I think it's going to take a while for people to kind of shift into that, because, you know, the first appearances, people can't help it. It's human nature. You do just judge by what you look at. But I think a lot of the time, like, you can have someone dressed to the nines, but if their attitude and the way that they interact with people doesn't meet that, it won't matter what they're wearing.
Yeah, it'll be a case of a lot of people are afraid to like show themselves on camera. I was talking to a woman yesterday at an event, and she was saying about, oh, I find it hard to create content because I don't want like my face and my body and my background, you know, to be shown, because I just want my content to say it for me.
Yeah.
And it is a thing, because we say to people during content, you need to build that brand of yourself. You need to put yourself out there. And it is scary to think that, oh, what if someone comments on this or this? And I was like, well, if they do, you have to like tackle that. So you kind of have to go through all the things inside your head of like, oh, what are people saying about this? What are people saying about this? And you kind of got to cast them away, because, like you said, at the end of the day, it's the quality of your content, the quality of your work should define who you are. Because I don't think anyone would look at someone who's got, you know, all of the flash and go, okay, well, what have they done for me? Whereas if you get someone out there who is just dressed casually, and you can see they've actually done quite a bit, because you get that quite a lot, where I'll walk down the street and you'll see someone who's got all of like the outfit on, but when you've got someone who's got like just a normal day to day, I bet you any money in the world, the person who is just dressed casually has a lot more net worth than the other person.
But this is the thing as well. I think sometimes when you're showing like the way that you're dressing, if it's like so much, it does make you kind of wonder, like, what are you compensating for? Sometimes it's a confidence thing, like the way that some people dress ostentatiously and, you know, in ways that make them stand out, because it's about confidence. Like even just before we started doing this, I saw a post on LinkedIn that someone had said that they just, for the first time, they shared like a selfie of themselves, and they were body shamed. That's what people focused on, but it was nice to see. They originally took down the post because it was a hard thing for them to deal with, but then they re-uploaded it with the message of, this isn't the point, you know, and it is encouraging people, because it's something, you know, that I've had personal problems with. even now, like sometimes I hate getting my picture taken or being on camera, but then I have to think, no, because, you know, I have something to say. I think it's why I gravitated so much towards writing when I was younger, and now why I'm a content writer, because obviously I can like hide behind my words. And as I've gotten older, I've had to kind of overcome that in a lot of ways. I've had to overcome it in the sense that if I want to dress a bit crazy one day, then I'm going to do it. If I want to dress down one day, I can do it. And also it's up to me how I choose to do that. Like, you know, sometimes people fall into the trap of, oh, they get recognized for being the person with the best outfits or the crazy outfits, and then they feel obligation to do that, or something will get mentioned one time and they'll never wear that thing again because now they think everybody's looking at them. And I think from
like the passing comments of, you look really blue today.
Exactly.
And it's just like, do I wear too much blue? I don't want to wear blue anymore.
And they'll never wear it again. And it's horrible, because this is when it goes into the idea of like, whatever content you're trying to create, whether it's writing or video, you limit yourself. Like you just said about the person that you met, they might not do utilize video on social media or things like that, and they'll miss out on a lot because they kind of can't get out of their own head. But also, you know, you need the people around you to kind of just be like, either not care at all or support you one way or the other.
Yeah, we're quite lucky in the office where we have a wide variety of fashion around, but no one really like kind of calls them out on it and says, oh, you know, we'll do the thing of, oh, you look different today, or I like that, or I like that. But no one's ever like pulled aside and go, you can't wear that today. You're like, why you stand out too much. Like that's never an issue at these offices, which is good.
I think this is something as well that would be important for people to remember, is that like it is really good to be in an environment like that where like no one's going to pull you aside and be like, you can't wear this and this is wrong. But I feel like if you normally wouldn't go up to someone and comment on what they're wearing, and it's the only time you do it, and it's the only time you interact with them, even that can have an impact. So somebody could just wear, I don't know, a new jacket or put their hair in a new way, and unless you go over to them and literally say to them, oh, that you look great, that's fantastic, just going like, oh, that's different, or you're trying something new. If you've never really spoken to that person before, that's the only thing they're going to remember.
The tone of voice.
So it's not even just a case of not saying anything negative. It's just it's hard because you can't predict how someone's going to feel about something. But even just a comment that isn't positive, it's even a neutral comment, could be enough for people to be like, oh, okay, I'm never gonna wear this again.
It's interesting because it's subjective, because you know styles go in and out all the time. Like I feel nowadays the baggier clothes and the sweaters has come back, and I'm happy for that because I've gained a lot of weight. But it's one of those things where if the style changed so dramatically and everyone accepted it, then that would be the new norm. Like if people enjoyed superheroes so much, everyone started wearing their underwear over their trousers, like going forward, and it was so accepted, and then there was business wear for it. So everyone was wearing like all their suits, but they would have their tighty whities up, and it becomes so normalized.
Yeah.
Everyone would just be doing it. And that's a kind of thing behind clothes and fashion, and probably the workplace themselves. It's all the power that you give to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Is what makes like the difference for it. And if you want to try something new, you should do it. And just because at the end of the day, you're experimenting with your own style. Like I'm not wearing the stuff I wore back in the 2000s because I would be, dressed to the nines in belts and skinny jeans.
But if you want to, you should
be
able to.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's fine. People are doing it as well.
I mean, I'm not even dressing the same as what I did when I first started, working for Maverrik a year ago. Like, I don't think it's changed that much. But before I started working here, I never had a job where I could just wear what I wanted. Like, I had to wear a uniform, which in some regards was helpful because, getting up and figuring out what to wear every day is a problem. But I feel like that also comes from people's judgment.
Yeah.
So 100% people should be encouraged to dress how they want. But I feel like other people also need to be reminded that how somebody dresses or decides to present themselves isn't your business, and that it directly affects you.
Yeah, I heard a story on Reddit where there was a HR representative who wanted to instill a dress code into their company. And they said, okay, you can only wear one of two things. You can wear a full suit, or you can wear a leather skirt and like a top. So the biggest, burliest guy said, okay, I'll wear the leather skirt and the top. So then he immediately got pulled aside and was just like, okay, why, you had one of two options. Like, yeah, but these were dress codes.
Yeah, one of two options.
Yeah.
So one of them was picked.
I feel like if you're trying to set up a dress code, you're just going to have a battle on your hands. And also you'll start having the conversation of, are you trying to turn your team into robots? Are you trying to have people as just people who come in and work? If they all, dress the same and they all do the same job, you're trying to create this machine.
Yeah.
And people aren't machines. They're going to need that little bit of like, oh, I want to wear a different outfit today. I want to wear my favorite top to, get me through the day. Or if I want to wear my favorite whatever, just to like push you through that boundary of if I dress the way I want to dress today will affect my work. Confidence wise, it will, but it won't negatively affect you if you've chosen something new.
I like, I guess, I don't know if people would count how I dress as dressing up, but like I like to purposely dress in certain ways sometimes. But then I'll have days where like if I wake up and I know I've got a really important article I need to get finished or a deadline I need to hit, and it's like, right, I just need to get dressed today. I need to know that I can walk into my workplace and then focus all of my concentration on my work and not worrying about that people are going to go, why is she wearing this today, or why is she dressed like this, or like someone should have a word with her. Like, I should just be able to come in, and if I have days where I want to come in and get on with my work, I should be able to do that. If I want to have days where I want to come in and, I'd be a bit more sociable, then I can do that. But those things are really surprisingly hard to do when you are literally, because you're confined in the clothes that you wear. So if you feel like it's holding you back, you're not going to give your best performance. And this is the thing that I think business owners need to remember, is that if you want the best out of your team, you do need to give them you need to trust them. And I think especially when it comes to dressing themselves, I don't really think anybody should be able to dictate how someone dresses themselves unless it's for hygiene reasons or, because obviously there are workplaces that require uniforms. I've worked in them. I wouldn't ever have argued to wear what I wanted in them because it made no sense.
Yeah, if it's in a retail environment or if it's in like a construction site, you need the high vis so you get seen. You need those uniforms so you can get seen, so someone can help you. If like a child is lost, so they need to know who to go to. They need to use a uniform so they can go to a person. There's a lot of uses out there for wearing a uniform. But when it comes to an office environment and then obviously creative writing itself, it should matter, really.
No, it really shouldn't. Like, everyone knows who works here and who doesn't. There's, unless obviously you work in like a really big company, but even then you'll still work in smaller sectors of that company, so you'll know the people you see every day. And obviously, it's not the same as if you need to work with customers and things like that. So even again, when it comes to client meetings and things like that, I really do think that people can put their best foot forward in whatever they're wearing as long as they're comfortable. And I think the more that business owners encourage their staff to be accepting of this, clients will also come around. People won't care anymore.
Yeah, I did find it funny. We were doing a list of shorts and like tutorials for YouTube, and I was giving out this message about social selling where I just had a I had a goose on my t-shirt where it said, "Mess with the honk, you get the bonk."
This is just it. But the thing is,
the topic itself, people grabbed onto that. They didn't go, "Oh, he's wearing a duck outfit, I'm not."
Yeah, or even if they did, like, people might even come back for that. They might think, oh, I don't know, they thought it was funny, so they remember that video stands out. Like, yes, they'll remember the content as well, but they might also remember it for what you're wearing. But it's not like you were wearing it because you were like, oh, this is why I'm wearing it. You were just wearing it because it's what you were wearing that day.
Yeah, some people use it as their identity as well. Like, you've got some social media experts who are like, I'm the glasses guy, and they always wear different color glasses. Or you've got, I'm the tie guy, and it's like different ties each time. It's an interesting way of showing a little bit of creativity and making yourself stand out, especially online where everyone's trying to do that. So do you feel like, obviously we're past the pandemic stage, but that kind of initiated hybrid working. So there's obviously a lot of difference between how you dress at home versus how you dress in the office. Do you think that's also affected how people are now treating coming into the office and being dressed? I
mean, I've never had personal experience with that because during the pandemic, I still worked in retail, so I started uniform. But from what I can gather, seeing the way that people talk about it now, I would definitely say so, because you still dress differently at home than you would in the office. Again, if your workplace is open to it and it's how you feel comfortable, people aren't coming in their pajamas exactly. But I think people realize that so much time in their day was probably wasted, either mentally, like productivity was wasted because they were, even if you're not worried about what someone's thinking about you, if you're not wearing something that you can, when you sit down at a desk all day, and if you're sat in something that's too tight or just doesn't feel right on your skin, you're going to focus on it. Because another thing I think as well, requiring people to wear this is a really strange comparison, but it's like when people during weddings and they have bridesmaids, and there's always been that debate of, bridesmaids all wearing the same thing, whereas now people are going a bit more for a colour scheme because they realise that like height, body shape, all different things affect people, non-visible disabilities and illnesses. There are things that you might not think about because you've never experienced it yourself, but something as simple as clothing can affect that. There are things that people might not be confident sharing with everybody yet, something as simple as having a weak knee or something that just helps them get through the day, so they don't want to wear something that's going to show it, and that's completely up to them. So, and obviously when people were working from home during the pandemic, they didn't have to hide anything at any point. And obviously it would be nice if we could work in every kind of environment where nobody had to feel ashamed. But again, that's personal. If you don't want to share that with somebody, you shouldn't be put in a position where you have to.
Yeah, I feel like people were more ashamed of their backgrounds a lot of the time. Like they would wear a normal office outfit during the hybrid working, but everyone was really conscious about their background, especially when I had that viral video go out of that guy who was auditioning for a part, and the director was like, "Oh God, look at that background." And he was like, "Well, give me the part, and I can live better." But I get it today, where I'll be on a call with some clients, and they'll have blurred backgrounds or white out backgrounds. Like, I'm in my study and it's a mess. But I'm not going to feel like any different talking to that person if I saw they had like if they were doing it in a kitchen cupboard versus if they were doing it in like this grand mansion with all the lights behind them.
I feel the exact same. I wouldn't mind, but I know some people do. Like when I go on calls, if I'm ever working from home, I also don't like blur my background or anything. And in the background I have like a framed Nightmare Before Christmas picture and things like that, not things that probably people would expect to see. I guess with that, it's kind of like people are still getting used to having that barrier between work and home. So I guess some people probably do it because it's a simple fact of, these people are never going to be in my home. So I kind of it feels a bit strange, I guess, showing it.
I don't want to show these people how I live.
No, exactly. So I do kind of get it. Or, some people are in situations where like, not everybody has a home office. And unfortunately, some people can be embarrassed that they've got like their bedroom or something in the background.
Yeah.
Which again, you shouldn't be, but I understand.
So we've gone into, I think we've kind of unpicked most of it. Most of it, it's about. I mean, I feel like we address like creativity as possible, and it's creating an environment where people will feel comfortable in. But there's going to be social barriers that people cross because of the way it's presented in social media. But it's about. I said this to the woman at the event. I said, small steps. Start with a selfie. Start with a short video. Go into a long video. You'll be doing podcasts. After you do podcasts, you'll be happy and comfortable going forward to present yourself how you want to present yourself. Because the first barrier is understanding if you're comfortable or not. People can say what we're going to say in the background, and it can be really rough because the internet is an unfiltered, messy landscape. But the first barrier is always a barrier on your own.
Oh, definitely. I feel like there are things that will still get to you, but I feel like if you're accepting of yourself or even on that path too, then they are a lot easier to manage or even just ignore, because I really think sometimes it's not even worth engaging, things like that. It can be helpful for people who see it to realise that, when people say stuff like that, you can fight back against them, but then it's picking your battles. Personally, I'm over it. And unless someone has something actually constructive to say about my work, then I'll listen. That's different. But when it comes to the way I dress and the way I look, this time a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be even doing something like this. I'd be way too shy or self-conscious. But yeah, it's a journey that I've put myself on, and it's one of those things that I feel like if I can do it, I really do think anybody has the potential to.
They can just sit there and they can feed our algorithm if they want to like comment crap, and then we can just hide a post, and they can just we'll have the engagement and all the rest of it, but we can just bury it, and they can just
the only person that benefits is you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. And if you've enjoyed this episode of the Maverrik podcast, please subscribe to us on all our channels, and if you're on YouTube, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and that's all. Thanks for coming down again, Skye.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.